And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fortean Slip, episode -1, a supernatural call to arms. Excuse me. It has been a hot minute. I was hoping to have some of the old soundboard stuff ready to go. I could not get that working this evening, so unfortunately, you get the bare bones tonight. Not that the show was ever huge on production value, but I tried. I thought tonight, instead of doing like the news, all the normal bullshit that I would do, that I would just go over what really got me here to where I am right now, why I started doing the show when I did it all those years ago, and kind of bring you guys around full circle before we start getting back into topics again and the things that I want to talk about, because it will change. I mean, I'll still get into the supernatural, Bigfoot, UFOs, etc., etc., the Fortean topics, if you will. But by and large, I'd like to look at other things as well, conspiracies, the propaganda that gets shoved down our throats daily, etc., etc. So, and yes, I will try to stay out of the chat tonight. But Steve is correct. The show was not huge on talent either. Very, very astute observation there, Mr. Alcorn. So back in 2012, actually, I need to go back even further than that. 2011. I woke up one morning, and as was normal for me at that time, I would go into the bathroom, puke into the toilet, retch really, sit there with my head on the seat and try to compose myself to go to work. It wasn't a fun time. So this particular morning, I can't remember the exact date. I know it was in February of 2011. I had literally just come back from a vacation that I'd taken with what would become my ex-wife. We were just living together at the time, to go out west. And when I got back from my vacation, my boss had read me the riot act about how my route was, because I had just literally let everything go. I was not taking care of my stores. I was just being a complete fucking degenerate. So this particular morning, I woke up. I sat down after I had finally composed myself in the bathroom at my desk, and I was sitting in my chair. And I had said to myself, if your kids were adults and they could see you as you are right now, what would they say to you? Because I am an addict, but I was a right in the midst of being a full-blown addict, using constantly. And the job that I did at the time was route sales, so I was out on the road. I could literally call my dealer and have him meet me anywhere, any day of the week. So it wasn't working out very well for me. I thought about trying to, get sober and still work, but none of those scenarios really worked out in my head. I won't say that what I chose in the end was the right way to go, but it worked for the time, or for the time being. And I decided to just stop going to work. I didn't really quit per se. I just stopped going to work. Wasn't the best choice in the world. But over the course of the next, I don't know how many months, I tried to get sober. It took me a really long time, and I struggled with it. And then when I finally did get sober later on that year, I wasn't really sober. So I was sober, but I was still a dry drunk, basically. I didn't use alcohol, but same mechanisms. And when this happened, I stopped going to work. I didn't have a job. I had a loan out for a car. The car got repossessed. I had nothing besides the place that I was living with my girlfriend at the time, who would be my future wife. Why she married me is beyond me. But anyway, I after taking that time, I thought that I was fine. I was like, I'm sober, so I'm good. But that wasn't the case. I didn't know that until much later. Very recently. So I spent the next few years just being a miserable son of a bitch. Which doesn't work out very well. I mean, it was a little more than just a few years, but we'll get to that too. But the next year, as I was trying to navigate being sober and no longer having any friends, because when I got sober, I realized that I could no longer be friends with the people that I had been friends with in my life up to that point. I had no friends that were sober. They were all into the drugs that I was into in some form or another. So I had to cut everybody out. Down to nothing. And because of that, I got extremely lonely. And I reached out for people to have like connections with people online. And I started joining groups, talking to people, trying to find, some type of connection with people. And at that time, I was following Joe Rogan. He had just started his show. Like, this is back when his show was on Ustream. Him and Brian Redband would sit on a couch with a laptop in front of them and stream the show. That was how they did the show. And I loved watching it, even back then. And Joe had retweeted something that Ro Sahibi had posted on Twitter. I know it's called X now. We'll still call them tweets, just so everybody's on the same page. It was this thing about Bigfoot, and it was like a little mini documentary type thing. And anyway, they talked about this podcast that they were going to do. And for the life of me, I can't remember what the name of the podcast was. Steve, if you remember, I know you're in the fucking chat, or if you're still not there, or somebody might remember it. what the name of that podcast was. But so I started listening to this podcast. It was Ro Sahibi, Sean Evidence, Damian Bravo, and Michael Merchant. And the big draw for me, as far as this whole thing was concerned, was the fact that they wanted concrete evidence. We want a body. That's what we're shooting for. That's what we want, scientific evidence. And that piqued my interest. I was like, oh, these are people that want the truth. I'm into the truth. So I got really heavy into watching this podcast and following the group, which I believe there was a group for Team Taser Bigfoot back when it was a thing. And then we wound up being in other groups, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. I started following all the people in this group and keeping up on the podcasts that were being generated out of this Team Taser program, whatever you want to call it. And I was on board with it. Like, I was very much like, yes, let's do this. Let's have real evidence. Let's go out there and find something that's concrete. Let's not put up all this bullshit. Let's do it. And I got to know a lot of really good people in the process. I got to meet a lot of crappy people in the process. It was a real mixed bag. By and large, I got to say, I can't even say it was more good people than bad people. It was pretty mixed. But I made some great connections with people. People that I still have connections with to this day. Steve, Phil, I still talk to. I just did Richard's show with him earlier this evening. So I don't regret any of that. But, in retrospect, that's kind of how I feel about it. So I started following all these people, talking to Jeff Kelly, David Batdorf, all these different people. And I really wanted to get my foot in the door. Like, I really loved the idea of podcasting. I mean, back in the day before podcasting, I was trying to figure out how to do pirate internet radio. I was very interested in this whole idea of putting out a show, having topics to discuss, and putting out something that the people can enjoy, and having it be fun, not having it be just, all serious all the time. Let's poke some fun at this shit. It deserves it. I mean, earlier tonight I was talking about whatever Dr. Johnson's doing now with, I guess he's been healed by Bigfoot and Jesus, because now the Holy Spirit works in tandem with cryptids for your health benefit. And if you believe that, I have a bridge with a Mothman on it to sell you. But yeah, I was full bore. I wanted in. So they had this beard contest. I don't know whose idea the beard contest was. But the whole idea of the beard contest was that the people in the group would put up their pictures, videos, slash whatever of them with their beards, and may the best man win. And whoever won was going to get their picture done by Richter Riolo. And at that point, I believe I was watching Richter's show. I was really, like I said, I was on board for everything. I was supporting everyone. I can't remember if at that point I had already started doing the stuff that would become the Fortean slip. The early stuff. Excuse me. But I went all in with the beard contest. I did videos. I did like karaoke videos. I did pictures, weird pictures. I went full bore with this thing because I wanted to win. My whole goal was I want to win. And I set out to do that, and by Jesus, I did it. I will say that out of all the images that Richter ever did of anyone, mine was probably the shittiest. Like, everybody else got these really cool, like, poses and things. I got me in the friggin' Mickey Mouse Kermit hat with two guns pointing. I didn't understand that. But anyway. Everybody else got to be adventurers. So my criticism of that. But I was grateful that I won. I got to know a lot of people. So talking to everybody. We were getting together late nights to always talk Bigfoot. It was crazy times. Steve can attest to this. We were always talking. All of us. It was, hey, when are we getting together to talk? To all get together and do a hangout. So I did this for, I don't know how many months. And I eventually started doing Jeff's show. I would come in to do, co-host with him. And I got to talk to Cliff Barrickman, and a few other people. I can't remember. That's the big one that I remember, is that Cliff came on. I got to talk to him, and later on I got to meet him. It was a fun time. I found that there was a lot of gatekeeping that went on. Like, people that would hold you back. I don't know why. I didn't understand it. And eventually it's what turned me to wanting to do my own show. I didn't want to be gatekept anymore. I didn't want to be kept down by what I wanted to do. I had ideas. I had a plan, albeit not the greatest, but it worked. My background with radio, I was a huge fan of talk radio. I was never a huge Howard Stern fan. I liked his stuff. I listened to Don and Mike. I grew up with guys on job sites listening to Don Imus. I listened to Opie and Anthony, and that was the big one. Opie and Anthony shaped how I looked at radio for the rest of my life. Because radio didn't have to be this thing where you came in, you hit the thing at the top of the hour, you did the joke, whatever, the bit, blah, 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 insert bullshit here. You could just have fun. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sit down with my friends, Matt and Steve, and talk about the paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, and have fun. That was my only goal. albeit I tried to structure it exactly like the Opie and Anthony show, which was where my fault lies. I should have tried to create my own thing in that structure. I tried to keep it like that all the time. Later on, that I fell into a different rhythm. So eventually, in not in 2012, I spent that next year, building relationships, going on podcasts, and having fun, really. Trying to get back on my feet after, not having anything, losing my car, not having a job. I can remember at one point I was sitting at home before I got into the community and started talking to people, feeling sorry for myself. I had, I was early days of Netflix when Netflix was streaming. I found a documentary called Winnebago Man, and I was sitting in my bed feeling completely sorry for myself just watching this documentary. And I remember it was kind of like a turning point where I was like, oh, I need to get up off my ass and start doing something. Um, but yeah, so I worked on relationships with everybody over the course of the next year, and then in 2013, I started working at a bus garage, washing buses at night, and I was still doing all of this stuff with everybody. I wound up not getting fired from that job, but a kid like threatened to turn me in for being a pot smoker, and that was before pot was legal. If they wanted to make a big deal out of it at a job, they could. Um, so rather than fight it, I just went and found another job. I went to work at a used car place doing car detailing. And that's when things kind of all fell kind of apart together and apart again. Um, I started having feelings for somebody that I was talking to in the community. She was on Richter's show. I'm going to try not to use names as a way to be polite. Um, Not to mention, I don't have any ill will towards her. Um, Never really did, to be honest. Um, so I knew that was happening, and I didn't realize that my girlfriend at the time had just completely tapped out. Like, she was just out. And when we sat down and talked about it, she's like, I left you like months ago. Like, we've just been living together. I was like, oh, that's swell. Um, so we decided that we would just stay living together for the time being, and I would try to figure it out. And that's when I made the absolutely horrible decision to move to California to be with this other woman. Horrible, horrible decision. Um, so I went out there. It did not go well when I finally moved out there. I went out initially. We met, spent a long weekend together. That was great. When I moved out there, not so great. But while I was there, um, that's where the inception of the show began. I got all the stuff together, and we did the first, I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes I did while I was in California. And we did the Lawyers, Guns, and Money episode. I think the John Teeter episode. Maybe the Elvis episode. I don't remember. Richard could tell you better than me. But yeah, we went at it. I had met Matt. Matt and I hit it off in a way that was kind of wild at the time. If there's any friendship that I regret ruining through my own stupidity, it's that one. Matt and I were very, very, very close at one time. And I tend to take things too far. So, there's that. But we had fun. Man, did we have fun. We shit on everybody. And for good reason. There were times I would have to cut the show. This is before we were doing them live. I would have to cut the show because we would say stuff that I would be like, yeah, that's a little rough. We can't go there. But, we wanted to tell the truth. And whether that was brutal or, kind, it didn't matter to us. And to be honest, it didn't matter if it was Steve. Because when Steve dropped the ball, I gave it to him too. When Jeff tried to have his Bigfoot outing with friggin' whatever the dude's name was, I can't remember now. Stavros, I want to say, something like that. And they claimed they got footage of Bigfoot and that they had cast tracks, and I called bullshit. It isn't that I don't want to be your friend when it comes to this. I'm into the truth. That doesn't mean I cover your ass when you try to pull the wool over people's eyes. Like, I'm here for the truth. And that's what I was going for when I made the show. I had a background in the supernatural, in interest in that from a very young age. I studied, spiritualist traditions, ritual magic, Wicca, and Druidism when I was in my late teens and early 20s. There's a lot of bullshit out there. Lately I've gotten into watching, and I will recommend for everybody, the Derp with Kurt Metzger's podcast. I totally agree with Kurt that the magic of people is that they are programmable. I totally believe that. Check out his stuff. He does good stuff. But because of all that background, I knew there was a lot of bullshit. And I wanted to delve into it and look at the truth. Yes, Steve is correct. I'm trying to stay out of the chat, but yes, we recorded an entire first show, just Steve and I. Never saw the light of day. Don't know what happened to it. To this day, I have no clue what happened to that show. No idea. I think it's probably safe to say that it was a good idea that it disappeared. Not our finest moment. And I go back and listen to those early shows and I cringe. Because we were trying too hard. But we eventually got there. Like, it got to a point where we were all comfortable, very comfortable in our roles and where the way we did the show. I know for me, I would just slide into it. But you got to remember, during all this time, I'm being this dry drunk piece of shit motherfucker. So, 2014, 13, I wind up coming back to Maine. My girlfriend that I had left decided that she wants me back. And I never should have left, regardless. Not even if it was to come back for her. But I never should have left. But I came back. I was able to slide back into my old job, which was crazy, and shouldn't have done that either. But we wound up getting married the following year. And all this time, I am trying to build this podcast and build a web page, and I'm actually making money. Not a lot of money, but I'm making money, and the money is growing. And I'm loving everything that I'm doing. I'm enjoying it. 2015 rolls around. At this point, I had gone to delivering the paper because it was early in the morning. It was very few hours, and I could focus on everything else. I wound up getting done that job so that I could focus on just doing the podcasting, the blogging, etc., etc. And that's when the rug got pulled out from underneath me. Between my wife leaving me, like, I had no clue, not even an inkling of a clue. And Facebook basically destroying my account so that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't promote anything. And all the ways that I was making money dried up instantly. And I had to move. And I had nowhere to go. I had no vehicle. Now no home. We had 4 dogs together. None of those were going with me. And I had to start over from scratch. Had my computer, though. And I still managed to do a podcast. I think I took a break for a little bit during that time. But after I got settled again, just continued doing the podcast and trying not to talk about what was going on with my ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife at the time, because she had put a restraining order on me to get me out of the house. I wound up in jail for 2 nights. And I'm gonna take the Mike Tyson train of thought on this one. I didn't deserve those 2 nights in jail for whatever happened between her and I. But I deserve those 2 nights in jail. Like, I earned it. Maybe not there, but I earned it. And then I had the trip to North Carolina, where I had a fan of the show. Went down and spent some time down there with her. That was interesting. We won't go too deep into that one. Um, never meet your fans or your heroes, either or. Um, so I just kept going at it, even though I was at the time I was living with my parents. Um, that was going down the tubes. Um, I wound up getting a decent job, but I would soon wreck that. Um, because I met a woman who was into cocaine. And here I am, dry drunk from pills. And I'm like, oh, well, this won't be a problem. No, it was a problem. And over the course of the next year, I just, well, year and a half, really, I just fell. Um, and lost my job because they figured it out. Almost destroyed my relationship with the woman that I love dearly. Um, and back to square one again. Because I had bought a new car. I had that repossessed. Um, and at one point, wound up working for the person that was supplying the cocaine. Good times. Um, so it all kind of culminated around a period of time where there was one night I was doing a bunch of it, and all of a sudden I couldn't feel one whole side of my body. And I had to puke, and I crawled to the bathroom using one arm and one leg, and then proceeded to crawl my ass home after that. It was only across the hallway, which was nice, but not anything that I recommend. Pretty sure it was a mini stroke, but um, yeah, so that was going on while I was doing the show, and not a person that was on that show. If they knew, it was beyond me that they knew, that they were aware, because I was trying to hide it like a motherfucker. In fact, I recently apologized to Steve for all of it. Um, but yeah, so I did that, and eventually that came to a screeching halt. And I'm not even going to say that it was my choice to get sober, but I hit such a friggin' rock bottom that it didn't matter. I was there. And I spent, I don't know, a week or two just fucking trying to snap out of it. Couldn't sleep. I would be up late watching fucking true crime videos just constantly. I'd go from one to another just to keep my mind just stay on this, stay on this, stay on this. That's what I did. And eventually the show kind of fell apart. And I almost destroyed the life that I was trying to build. And then I found clarity somehow, somewhere in there. And all of a sudden one day, my old high school friend gets in touch with me. She was one of the few people that I had stayed in contact with. even though I knew she still had a problem. And she said, I've got to do something with Una, this dog that she had. If I take her to the pound, they're gonna kill her. She's probably pregnant. I need somebody to take her. Blah blah blah. I did not want this dog. I tell you all right now that I would have done anything to get rid of this burden at this point in time. I did not want this dog. I wanted to shove it off on someone else. But I wanted to help her. I love dogs. But I didn't want this dog. She showed up with that dog, and she never left my side. I couldn't go anywhere without her. She would just sit there, right there, all the time. And there was something about that dog that changed who I was. It wasn't how I wanted it to be. I much rather would have gotten my shit together for my family. But for some reason, it took this dog. And I snapped out of it. And it's been a journey since. I've spent the last 5 years trying to atone for who I am, who I was. And a couple of years ago, she passed away. She was old. She was old when I got her. And I kept one of her puppies, as most of you know. And I still have her. I know now that I could have been a different person. I know now that I probably destroyed a lot of relationships because I was just caustic. And I wasn't doing it all the time to be caustic. It was just what I created. It was a defense mechanism. So when the show fell apart, I wasn't shocked. I knew I'd killed it. When I started saying, I'm riding this fucking thing to zero, I was sure that I was destroying it with every second. And then I tried to reshape it with Katie, which was a valiant effort. Excuse me. And I love Katie to pieces. She's like a sister to me. Her husband, Joe, top shelf. Great guy. It just wasn't what I should have been doing. I was grasping. So, I killed it. And I took some time for me. I enjoyed my time. I was telling everybody recently, I was talking with Steve, and I was telling him how much I just didn't want to do this again because I want my time. I don't want to waste time. But if I don't, I feel like shit for not doing it. Not because I feel like I owe you all anything. I mean, you guys are lovely. Those of you that listen and watch and who have been fans for a long time. And I'm very glad to see a bunch of you in here tonight. But it's for me. I can remember a little kid who sat in his room and recorded himself introing songs. Like 7 or 8. I have wanted to talk to people since I was very little. And I did it for 10 years and slowly destroyed it because I was a mess. I mean, I thought I was good, but I wasn't. I was just going down a shitty sewer pipe. And I decided recently that I want to come out and do this thing again. For me, the way I want to do it. No hiding shit because one of the other fucking co-hosts doesn't want to do it. No more, this is off limits. I want to do what I want to do. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. Never in my life have I seen a more 1984-like scenario than the one we are in right now. The propaganda that's fed to us from the mainstream media on a daily basis is the biggest shit sandwich I have ever seen in my life. We have been told to not believe our lying eyes. Just take it. Just take it from your experts and move the fuck on. Epstein who? I'm not a sheep. I don't know if you are, but I'm not. I don't want to be. And this stuff is so blatant at this point. And it was funny, I went on Richard's show a couple of weeks ago, and I brought up the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I'm like, it seems kind of weird. Holy shit, did I get attacked by Richard and Phil. Oh, it's disgusting. Oh, yeah. Well, lo and behold, I'm like, hey, why don't you guys like look into it? And they do. And they're like, oh, oh, yeah, that's kind of weird. 'Cause it is. I don't know where the show will go, the tone from here. I know it's going to be more true to me. And I want to delve into a lot of these things that may be sensitive. Sorry. But that's the only way I'm going to be happy. So, on that note, I got to piss like crazy. You guys have been wonderful. I wanted you all to know the truth because that's what I was always about. So, good night, people of Earth. I will return next week, and I'd like to introduce a new segment to the show. I'll let you guys know next week. Have a lovely time. It was good seeing you all. Peace.